You're famous because your daddy's famous.
T.I. has reached his limit. When DL Hughley claimed that T.I.'s son, King Harris, was heading straight for prison, the King of the South did not take it lightly.
Why did I bring that up? Because PMG, you know, he did that same thing that Lil King doing.
He did not brush it off. He did not post a slick tweet. Instead, he addressed DL face to face. What started as a casual celebrity comment quickly turned into a heated confrontation about family, respect, and the challenges of raising a son in the public eye.
Chris, man, stop hitting me and getting in my comments, telling me what to tell King.
This is no longer just about King Harris getting into trouble. It is about how far a father is willing to go to defend his child's name when the entire world is watching.
When we grew up, we actually grew up in the circumstance they romanticized.
Going to prison.
Let's get right to it. You've seen the headlines. You've seen the clips. King Harris, the son of T.I. and Tiny, has been all over the blogs for all the wrong reasons. From arguing with fans to run-ins with the police, King has been painting a picture that has a lot of people concerned. Even though he was raised in luxury with fame, money, and every opportunity in front of him, he has been moving like someone trying to prove a point for months now. Social media has been calling him out, saying he acts tough when he comes from privilege, that he is trying too hard, that he is wasting the legacy his parents built. Many call him disrespectful. Most people talk about it just for clicks, but when DL Hughley spoke on it, it hit differently. Because DL doesn't just talk gossip, he talks lessons. And when he said King Harris might end up in prison if he keeps this up, it sounded less like a jab and more like a warning. But that is exactly what set T.I. off. He has always been protective when it comes to his family. Say what you want about his music, his controversies, or his past mistakes, but one thing is certain, he is a father first. So when he heard DL Hughley, another black man, another father, another public figure, speak on his son like that, he took it as pure disrespect. According to T.I., DL could have handled it privately. He could have called him up, man to man, and said, "Hey bro, I'm worried about your boy." Instead, he said it publicly, on camera, for millions to hear, and that, to T.I., crossed the line. The confrontation did not go down in a studio or during an interview. It happened out in the open, raw and unfiltered. T.I. looked him dead in the eye and said, "Don't ever speak on my son like that again. You don't know what goes on in my home. You don't know what kind of father I am." People who were there say DL tried to stay calm. He told T.I., "I didn't mean any disrespect. I just said what everybody's thinking. Your boy's wilding out." But T.I. was not having it. He shot back. "Everybody's thinking it, but not everybody's saying it. You said it because you want clicks. You said it because you're old and need a headline." That is when things really escalated. Because this was not just a celebrity argument. It was generational. It was about fatherhood clashing with public judgment. It was pride, pain, and public image all colliding in one moment. Now, to understand how it got to this point, we need to back up a little. King Harris has been under fire for years. From flashing cash on social media to arguing with strangers in public, he has been making headlines non-stop, and not the good kind either. The internet has labeled him the definition of a spoiled rich kid, someone born with everything but desperate to prove he came from nothing. He has been caught in public fights, had minor run-ins with the law, and racked up several viral moments for all the wrong reasons. And every time King made the headlines, people did not just blame him. They pointed fingers at T.I. and Tiny. They said things like, "That's what happens when you raise a kid in fame," or "That's what happens when parents chase the spotlight instead of teaching discipline." T.I. heard all of it. But for the most part, he stayed silent until DL Hughley stepped in. Now, DL was not trying to be cruel, at least from his own point of view. He claimed he was speaking from experience. On his podcast, he said, "I've seen what happens when young men get too comfortable pretending to be tough. It never ends well." I love T.I., but if he doesn't step in soon, that boy is headed for jail or worse. To DL, it was tough love. But to T.I., it was a direct shot at his manhood and his fatherhood. And for someone like Tip, who clawed his way up from the streets, built an empire, and prided himself on his values, that kind of comment hit deep. He fired back, "You don't get to speak on my son's future. That's between me, my boy, and God. You can't predict prison for another man's child." That was the moment things turned from commentary into confrontation. What most people do not realize is that there has always been quiet tension between T.I. and DL. They respected each other publicly, sure, but they were never close. They come from two different worlds. One is a rapper from the trap. The other, a comedian turned social commentator. T.I. built his name telling raw stories from the streets. DL built his by analyzing society and calling out bad behavior. DL is used to playing the wise uncle role. But when you speak on another man's child, you cross into dangerous territory. And in the South, pride means everything. Especially for T.I., who has spent years reshaping his image from rapper to father, husband, entrepreneur, and activist. So when DL spoke on King, it did not just challenge the boy, it challenged T.I.'s entire evolution as a man. Witnesses say the confrontation nearly turned physical. T.I. got heated, telling DL, "You think you're better than me because you sit behind a mic. My son isn't perfect, but he's learning. Don't judge him before he's grown. DL reportedly stood his ground, replying, "If you don't want the public to talk, keep your son out of the public eye. You raised him in front of cameras. Now you're upset people have opinions?" That line cut deep, because as harsh as it sounded, there was some truth to it. T.I. and Tiny built a whole reality show around their family. T.I. and Tiny. The family hustle. Fans watched King grow up right in front of them. They saw his confidence, his humor, his temper, all of it. So when he started acting out, those same fans who once adored him became his harshest critics. And that was DL's point. Fame cuts both ways. But for T.I., this was never about logic. It was about loyalty.
He told DL, "You don't check my son in public.
You come to me first." That's what real men do. The internet instantly divided. Some sided with DL, saying he was only speaking the truth. One comment read, "DL just said what we all see. King is spiraling." Another said, "That's not hate, it's a warning. He's seen this story before." Would you like me to make the next section sound others jump to T.I.'s defense, saying, "You never talk about another man's child"? That's crossing the line. But soon, social media did what it always does. It turned the whole thing into a circus. Memes started flying around showing King looking reckless, with captions like "DL called it." Clips of T.I. preaching about fatherhood were remixed into jokes.
What most people overlooked, though,
was that behind all the noise stood a father trying to figure out how to raise his son in a world that seems eager to watch him fail. T.I. eventually took to Instagram to address everything head-on. He said, "Y'all love to talk about my son, but nobody's offering to help. You'd rather see him crash than see him change. But I won't let that happen." He continued, "You don't raise a young man in front of the whole world without a few mistakes. I made mine, now he's making his. That's part of growth." Then came the line that stopped everyone scrolling. "I ain't afraid of who my son's becoming. I'm afraid of how the world treats young black boys when they mess up." That moment changed the tone entirely. It was no longer just about King or DL. It became a bigger conversation about what it means to grow up black and famous, where every mistake turns into a headline and every headline becomes a label. After T.I. spoke his piece, DL Hughley responded in his usual calm, collected way. He said, "I get where T.I. is coming from. I defend my kids too. But truth is truth. Fame doesn't teach discipline, and I want King to win." He made it clear he wasn't attacking. He was warning. "When you've been in this industry long enough," he said, "you see what happens to young men who get too much attention and not enough direction. I hope I'm wrong." At that point, it didn't feel like a feud anymore. It was two men, both fathers standing on opposite ends of the same pain, one trying to protect, the other trying to prevent. King Harris eventually broke his silence too. He posted online, "I don't care what none of y'all old heads got to say. I'm living my life." But later he followed up with something more thoughtful. "I know I gotta grow up. I know people watching, but I'm not a criminal. I'm just young." That honesty hit differently. Fans started softening up, realizing that beneath the drama, he's just a 19-year-old trying to figure life out. Only difference is, his every move plays out for millions to see, and his dad has to defend him in real time. Behind the scenes, sources say T.I. and DL eventually spoke privately. They agreed to disagree, but did it respectfully. T.I. reportedly told him, "Next time, hit my line first." DL replied, "Fair enough. Just don't take it personal when I speak truth." And that's the thing. Both of them had valid points. T.I. was right that no man should drag another's child into public debate. But DL wasn't wrong that actions have consequences. That tension between truth and respect is what made this story hit so hard. Because this wasn't just about celebrities. It was about what happens when parenting plays out on the internet. T.I. later posted again, saying, "I came from the trap. I did time. I changed my life. All I want is for my son to learn without losing himself. Y'all pray for him instead of judging." Maybe that's the real takeaway. Not the argument, not the viral memes, but the reminder that being a father means protecting your child, even when it costs you your peace. Since then, King has kept a lower profile. No more viral outbursts, no more drama. He's been locked in on his music, trying to prove he's more than just T.I.'s son, that he's his own man. And whether DL was right or not, maybe his words sparked something, because sometimes being doubted is the push that fuels growth. T.I., meanwhile, hasn't backed down. He's still watching, guiding, and protecting, just in his own way. "I ain't raising no angel," he said recently, "but I ain't raising no statistic either. My son's gonna make it." And if you know Tip, you know that's a promise. So maybe this story was never about beef at all. Maybe it was about perspective. A comedian speaking hard truths, a father defending his legacy, and a young man learning to stand on his own under the brightest and harshest spotlight of all. Fame. Because at the end of the day, headlines fade, but how you raise your child, that's forever. Drop your thoughts below. Was DL wrong for speaking on King Harris, or was he just keeping it real? And did T.I. handle it the right way? Like, share, and subscribe for more real stories and deeper truths. This is Buzz and Drama, where the headlines end and the truth begins.